All right, let's jump right into this. Picture this for a second. You're heading out on a highly anticipated family boat trip. You're walking up the ramp, bags in hand, you are totally ready for adventure. Who do you want waiting for you at the helm? In a really fascinating presentation by speaker coach Montana von Fliss, she poses this exact scenario to tackle a completely universal fear, which is public speaking. She uses this brilliant boat trip metaphor to explain how we project public confidence. Because honestly, when you step up to speak, whether that's in a stuffy boardroom or on a massive stage, you are the captain of that journey. And how you show up? Well, it literally changes everything for your passengers. Just imagine your captain walks out to greet you and stammers, "Hi, I'll be your captain, so, let's just have a great trip." Sorry. You're probably thinking, yeah, nope, get me off this boat immediately. Contrast that with a captain who steps right out, looks you dead in the eye, and says firmly, "I'll be your captain, let's have a great trip." What a massive relief, right? As a speaker, you are that captain. Your audience is trusting you with their time and their attention. Establishing that confident authority right out of the gate is absolutely crucial to putting them at ease. Now, the secret behind that confident captain is pretty fascinating. When Von Fliss actually demonstrated this on stage, she revealed a total game changer. She wasn't actually feeling confident in that moment. She was just making specific physical and vocal choices to make the audience think she was. You do not need to inherently feel confident to be a great speaker. You simply need to deliberately make the shape of a confident person. And the best part? Absolutely anyone can do this. Let's dive right into Section 1, Physical Confidence Choices, covering tips 1 through 3. So tip number 1 is to turn up the energy and speak up. If a nervous, quiet speaker is normally operating at a level 3 out of 10, the goal isn't to suddenly start shouting and bouncing off the walls at a level 11. Nobody wants that. All you need to do is just aim for a solid level 5. By speaking up just a little bit more than your nervous baseline, you instantly sound prepared, positive, and confident. It's this tiny, tiny adjustment in volume and energy, but it yields massive results. Moving on to tip number 2, pause like a boss. Nervous speakers have this incredibly common tell. They talk unbelievably fast. And when they finally do take a desperately needed breath, they tend to fill that empty space with ums and likes. But simply trying to speak slower often just sounds kind of weird and unnatural. Instead, confident speakers use strategic pauses. You pause during transitions. You pause for emphasis. You completely command the silence. And that brings us to tip number 3, which is actually a really fun one, the superhero stance. I want you to pretend you are a superhero. Sit or stand up straight, completely open your chest, and playfully tuck in your imaginary cape. Seriously, try it right now wherever you're sitting. Notice how it naturally forces your head up. It automatically boosts your eye contact and almost effortlessly brings a smile to your face. It is this super quick shortcut to instantly adopting confident body language. This ties perfectly into a relative concept, making the shape of a good host. Think about it. If you came over to my house for dinner and I opened the door with my arms tightly crossed and a scowl saying, "Hi, come on in," you'd immediately think you arrived at a terrible time. The thing is, the audience cannot read your mind. They have no idea if you are totally terrified inside. You have to actively make the shape of a welcoming host. Uncross those arms, put on a smile shape, and invite them in. They're going to go along with whatever shape you present to them. But you might be wondering, how do you actually know if you're making the right shapes? Well, there is an ultimate, albeit slightly uncomfortable, shortcut. You have to record yourself on video. I know, watching yourself is brutally tough. But wouldn't you rather catch a weird nervous habit and adjust it before you're standing in front of a live audience? Doing these video checks allows you to see if you're actually executing the techniques, hitting that level 5 volume, pausing, keeping an open posture. And even more importantly, it ensures you still look authentically like you. It really helps you find your own unique version of that confident captain. Next up is Section 2, Practice with Purpose, which is tip 4. Okay, so we've got our physical toolkit ready to go. But how do you ensure you actually execute these techniques when the bright lights hit? We have to pivot from the physical space over into the rehearsal space. Look, practice doesn't have to mean booking a massive conference room for 3 hours. Make it manageable for yourself. Von Fliss suggests just adding one new confident captain technique into your routine each day. If you don't have time for a full run-through of your deck, just take your opening and your closing and run them 3 times in a row. You can literally do this anywhere. Do it while you're in the shower. Do it while you're walking the dog. Run through it while you're cooking dinner. Just get those repetitions in during your everyday tasks. But listen, we need to be crystal clear on what actual practice means here. Just reading your bullet points silently to yourself on the couch is not practice. Think about it this way. If you had a huge piano recital on Friday, you wouldn't just silently read the sheet music all week and then touch the actual keys for the very first time on stage. There's no way. You have to stand up, you have to say the words out loud, you need to imagine the audience sitting right in front of you, click through your actual slides, you have to mimic the performance environment as closely as you possibly can. All right, moving into section 3, the silent sentence, which is tip 5. Now we arrive at what I'd call the absolute climax of this explainer. The first 4 tips were all about how to outwardly appear confident, completely regardless of how you feel inside. But how do you tackle that massive internal anxiety? When you're standing in the wings, sweating, maybe shaking a little, unhelpful voices always flood in. We give ourselves these impossible instructions like, what if you mess up? You better be perfect out there. That pathway in our brain is super well worn. And honestly, trying to just push the anxiety away, it basically never works. So you have to stop and ask yourself a critical question. What are you actually telling yourself? What is that internal broadcast right now? To fix this internal broadcast, you have to go back to square one. Why are you even doing this? What is your deeper purpose? For von Fliss, she realized her core desire wasn't actually to be a flawless speaker. It was simply this. I want to help my audience to the best of my ability. This became her very first silent sentence. By shifting the focus away from her own perfection and placing it entirely onto serving her audience, it acted like a massive override switch for her brain. Her nervous energy suddenly aligned with a much higher purpose. The really crucial takeaway here is that you can actively craft this internal dialogue. Von Fliss eventually evolved her silent sentence into what I'd call a master-level mantra. She tells herself, I invite you to be here with me while I am here with you so that I can make this easier for you. This is incredibly powerful. That first part is a clear invitation to herself to be fully present in the room. The second part totally reframes the audience. They are now partners and friends, not these scary foes just waiting to judge her every move. This is exactly how you establish a true, welcoming stage presence. Because you aren't just making the shape of a good host anymore, you genuinely are one. So how do you actually use this in real life? You literally build it right into your script. It becomes the silent part of your presentation. When you were doing your reps in the shower, you think the silent sentence in your head, and then you speak your out loud intro. Silent bit, out loud bit. Silent, out loud. You repeat this rhythm over and over until your internal grounding mechanism is completely, inextricably linked to the actual words you speak. It becomes this repeatable, highly reliable reflex that is just always there, waiting for you, when the stakes are high. Which brings us to our final takeaway in section 4. Make your audience safe. Bringing this all together, let's navigate this journey full circle back to our opening boat trip metaphor. All of these tips we've covered, turning up the energy, pausing like a boss, standing like a superhero, practicing with real purpose, and deploying your own silent sentence, they're all about one ultimate goal. Your confidence is a gift of safety to your audience. Trying out these techniques at home? Yeah, it might feel really uncomfortable and weird at first, because they are totally new to you. But remember how terrible that nervous, stammering captain made us feel? And remember the profound relief when the confident captain took charge? By stepping just slightly outside of your own comfort zone to make confident choices, you are giving your audience permission to just sit back, relax, and completely trust the journey. You make them safe. And you know what? Once your audience feels safe, you might actually start having a little fun up there yourself. Huge thank you to all you captains out there for joining us on this ride today. If you found this explainer helpful in preparing for your next big presentation, please do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more explainers just like this one. So before you step on your next stage, I want to leave you with one question. What will your silent sentence be? Have a great trip out there, and we will definitely see you next time.